Hello again. Welcome back to an all-new edition of FSP Overtime. It is I, as always, Jason Burgos, writer for SureDog.com and MMA Suck. And of course, finally, for a new edition of FSP, we have back the Viking Overlord. Look at the guns. If you're looking at the video version, the guns! Look at that. Phil Daru is back. America Top Team Overlord of Strength and Conditioning. What is going on, Phil?
I'm good today, man. It's a Sunday. We're relaxed today. This is probably going to come out tomorrow. So welcome to the new week, everybody. And I feel good today. You know, I had some carbs in me, had a cheat meal or two or three, maybe.
What's a Daru cheat meal? I'm curious.
Man, it could be anything. It could be burgers, pizza, burritos. I do it all. I don't play. I listen, when it comes to my food, I don't neglect anything. So it maybe, you know, I guess sushi would be my go-to, so I'll say sushi is my go-to. But then again, I love my pizza, so we're good.
I mean, but I can't imagine you're getting really good pizza down in Florida. I can't imagine it.
Okay, you got me on it. Listen, pizza is good no matter what. To be honest with you,
what is your favorite burger?
It's pretty good. You know what I mean?
What's your favorite burger?
It's got to have bacon on it.
Yes.
Got to have bacon.
I'm talking about.
You know?
Oh my God! I went to Cheesecake Factory, giving a clear Cheesecake Factory plug right here. I went to Cheesecake Factory. I had a macaroni and cheese burger. Dude, it was a fat patty. It was a macaroni and cheese and like a crusted thing on top of the patty. It was so thick I had to squish it. Dude, delicious. Delicious.
I'm not a big fan of macaroni and cheese.
What?
I can't
I
do
thought
it.
macaroni and cheese big in the South. What's going on here?
But this isn't really the South. It's Florida. Like, there's diversity here. So, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on.
All right, fair enough. All right, so as always on FSP, you know, we're a little different than Fight Strength Podcast. We talk about MMA news of the day and those sorts of topics. I'll get right into it. You know, a guy you're familiar with, Colby Covington, former guest on the show. It's been announced that they're working on a possible fight between him and Rafeal Dos Anjos for an interim title, because that's what the world needs, another interim title, possibly for UFC 224 in Brazil. I mean, the first thing I want to ask is, your thoughts. God, I don't understand. Tyron Woodley is possibly coming back. He's suggested July for 226. Why are they making an interim title fight like a couple months before he might come back? To me, that seems like smack in the face to Tyron Woodley. Your thoughts?
Maybe. You know, like I said, at the end of the day, we always say this, it's about the business and it's entertainment. So Colby right now, he's legitimately talked himself into a contention, a title fight, whatever you want to call it, or whatever it is. But he's done what he set out to do, and now he should be able to get his chance. Now, he's going to be going to Brazil, so kind of collectively trying to figure out how we're going to keep him from not getting attacked from all the Brazilians, because he's pretty hated out there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's a pretty good fight for him. You know, Dos Anjos is you know, he's a handful.
Yeah.
He can definitely fight, and I feel like he's a better match right now. I think that he's a better fighter in general, a better competitor at 170 than he is at 155.
Yeah.
He's obviously has the strength now. He has the speed. He has the explosiveness. He has power. He also, from a technical standpoint, he can stop takedowns, and he has great jiu-jitsu. And, you know, his striking is on point. Colby will have to make sure that he is always ready and able to flow through takedowns. So if one takedown doesn't work, he must keep on going through each individual takedown to try to get him down to the ground.
Yeah. And
then from there work his game. But you know, we'll see how it plays out. As long as he's sticking to the game plan and doing what he does best, he should be okay. But other than that, as far as from the I guess the interim title, it should be. They really need to stop that, to be honest.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to, you know, guys that aren't really out they're not going to be out for a year or 2 years or
Yep.
whatever. That makes more sense.
Yep.
If you're coming back, I mean, what, you're going to have another, fake title on your hands? So, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like the most notable interim title, instituting of it was when Randy Couture pieced out to try to go fight Fedor for Affliction, and then they had their champion leave, or you've had injuries or whatever, and then they made interim titles, and they eventually made like a pseudo tournament. But like we talked about it in our end of year show for 2017, they had 5 interim titles from 2016 to 2017. If you add this year, which is barely into it, that is now 6 interim titles they've had. That's insane. I just don't get it. And if I was Tyron Woodley, I'd feel disrespected considering he might fight soon after, or at least wants to. It just like it almost says like, we kind of want to find a way around having you fight a title fight, so we're gonna make this other fight. And it should have, he should be fighting one of these guys. They should be waiting a couple of months, and then he should fight them. But I mean, I agree with everything you said. There was rumors of Colby possibly fighting Stephen Thompson. I think that would have been a tougher matchup. I mean, if Tyron Woodley had a lot of difficulty with his level of athleticism, I think Colby would have had a lot of trouble too. And I like this matchup too because, yes, Dos Anjos has been better at 170 for sure, but he's still a smaller 170. So I feel like if it came to a grappling match, Colby's working with enough high-level guys at top team where he can probably defend well enough, and I think he has the strength and the size to really, if he can get Dos Anjos down, I think he can hold him down and win out rounds and stuff like that. But if it doesn't, and it has to go to his feet, I worry about the speed advantage a little bit, Dos Anjos, but I still like this matchup more than Stephen Thompson. And, I mean, just to think about it, 6 to 7 months ago, if we would have been telling people, maybe a little longer, Colby Covington, interim world champion, people are like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. But this is he has a real chance to win. This dude may be a world champion, and you said it. He talked himself into it, and he might have a good chance of getting it.
It's true, man. The power of voice and speaking and shit talking.
Yep.
Make it happen in this industry. As long as you're winning fights and you're something of what the people want to see, it can happen for you.
Yeah, I mean he's a lesson to everyone out there that if you want to make an opportunity for yourself, even if you offend some, it can work. It may not work for everybody, but it's an avenue you have for yourself. But moving from that, we're going to talk about a little bit about Joe Rogan on his weekly podcast. He brought up the topic of win bonuses. Now I'm going to read a quote from that episode of the show. He said, "I just don't like the win bonus. I don't think anybody fights harder for it. That to me is a real issue. I think a guy should be paid what they get paid. I think if you have a contract, that contract should be for X amount of money. If you have points in the pay-per-view, that's on top of that. But I don't like the idea that you win or lose has to be in the hands of winning or losing has to be in the hands of what we have deemed completely incompetent judges." Not a big fan of the judges, Joe Rogan. I think he makes a very fair point considering we have a lot of instances of boxing judges, the sanctioning bodies in states having boxing judges doing MMA fights. That's fair. Like, you should not have close fights, you lose on fights because of bad judging, and you lose money. Very few guys make big money, making 100,000 plus, in fights. So for the smaller guys, the mid-card guys, the lower guy, the prelims, fight pass, a loss of like 20 G's on a win bonus, that's big for a guy, and I think he's dead on.
Yeah, speaking from an ex-fighter's perspective, I think that for me, I know that I've always fought for bonuses. I know a lot of my guys like their win bonuses, like the knockout of the night or the fight of the night, whatever the case may be. I think that's more. I think it's more beneficial for the fans because fighters do want to get that bonus. It's not like they don't want to, but I do agree there are very incompetent judges out there. Yeah. A lot of them. I think there was one in Vegas. It was a boxing commission or a boxing judge, and she fell asleep.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Maybe she was like, she might have been on the elderly side, but at the same time, you're in the middle of a UFC fight, you're going to fall fucking asleep?
Yeah.
Then, I don't know, shoot some cocaine, give a fuck, but make it happen. You know? Yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, I mean, I love Joe, man. Joe Rogan's the man, but at the end of the day, I know my fighters. They're gonna fight for their bonuses. They're gonna put it on the line and try to make sure that they get that, because a lot of the lower tier guys, a lot of the prelim guys, they don't make a lot of money. They don't make enough as the guys on the main event cards, or your heavier or big draws. So I mean, for them, this is what they work towards. They want that bonus so they can get an extra 50 G's, and that's something that can be there. It's in arm's length if they do it correctly. But I don't know. I guess I agree, but then I disagree.
Well, I mean, I think he means like, you don't lose any money. Let's say you got a contract of like 20 and 20. Instead of getting 20 and 20, you automatically get 40. Once you make weight and you get in that cage, you automatically get 40. So instead of like, oh, you can get 20 and maybe another 20, you know, why not just give? They're making tons of money. Just give a guy $40,000. I mean, why put a chance of something like a judge screwing up their thing and making them lose out of money? Just give guys more money. Why not?
I'm all about that. Give the fighters more money, you'll have better fights, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And they'll be harder. They'll be able to train harder. They'll have more, more motivation to train and to perform. It's kind of tough when I know guys in the UFC that still have to have part-time jobs. So it's pretty tough, man. If you can get a fighter really up and willing to put it all on the line, and they know they're going to get paid, then you're going to have a good fight on your hands.
Yeah, because you have a lot of talk about, fans are frustrated with quote-unquote, points fighting. And, fighters, if they're contingent on winning is paying the freaking mortgage that month, maybe they do points fight more and they play it safer, and maybe they, just try to grind out a win because they want to get that money. But maybe if they already are going to get their money, they're set, maybe there is more exciting fights. Maybe they take more chances because they know I'm getting paid, so let me go to get the finish. Maybe if you have set amounts and then the win, the knockout or fight of the night, maybe that it incentivizes a guy that, okay, I'm already getting 40, damn, I get a chance to get to 60 for this fight by knocking him out. I would think that makes everybody happy. And if the UFC's making more money for more exciting fights, better ratings, why not pay the money,
Sure, yeah, definitely. I like that.
I mean, moving on from that, there's a lot of fight announcements in the last week or so. One of them, I'm curious what you think of this. We got the possibility of Shogun Rua versus Volkan Ozdemir at UFC Fight Night 129. Now, I mean, Rua's, he's won 3 fights in a row. He's got some good names on there on their winning streak, but he's 36 years old. Going against Volkan Ozdemir, who was solid against Daniel Cormier. Yeah, he lost, but he looked good in the first round. The guy has a lot of talent. Beat Jimmy Manua. He's at a good camp at Hard Knocks. I feel like, man, they might be throwing Shogun to the wolves a little bit here. What are you thinking on this one?
They might be trying to get him out of there, man.
Yeah.
We see it a lot, I almost think they tried to get Rashad Evans out of there a long time ago.
Yeah.
But, yep. Yeah, we're seeing it a lot now. I didn't even know Shogun was still fighting. So it shows you right there.
Yeah.
Not to put him down or anything like that. It's just I haven't seen any fights that he's had recently. But I mean, how old is he? 37?
36. He's gonna be 36 this year.
36, but with a fight age of probably like 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
A lot of damage has been taken, So, yeah, Volkan is an up and comer. I think that obviously he was thrown to Daniel Cormier a little bit too soon.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
He's an up and comer. He's hungry. Young guy. So yeah, this may be the end of Shogun as we see it, but you can never count out those old dogs. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
see what happens.
And it's a win-win for him. He can somehow beat a Volkan Ozdemir. All of a sudden, he looks that much more relevant. And, I mean, that's just how the business works. You build young, new names off of older names, and that's just how it is. And we have an even more interesting fight coming up where it's less an old name and just a current veteran name against a rising star. And that possibly for UFC Liverpool, we may get Stephen Thompson versus Darren Till. Now, I get it. Darren Till's very popular. He gets knockouts. He's exciting, but I feel like the hype on Darren Till maybe a bit overblown a little bit, and him getting a main event spot already, it's kind of tough because, looking at his stats, he has 10 TKOs of his 16 wins. Now, going back, a lot of them in the UFC, he's had just 2 TKOs or KO. He had 1 KO, and then the TKO goes down to Sorting. So that means 8 of his KOs in his career have been before the UFC. Now, some of those KOs come against, guys that are 1-2 or 2-4, or some of these, questionable records. And I just feel like, I know the hype on him is big. He's going to be in Liverpool. It's going to help. But man, Stephen Thompson is a handful. That's a tough guy. I just feel like now the kid is being thrown to the wolves instead of the old man getting thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, he's taking a step up in competition. I think that the UFC is actually trying to test him in a sense. And if he can get over this test, he may be able to get into that title contention and be a contender, a true contender. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. And from stylistically, I think that it's going to be hard for Darren to actually knock out Stephen Thompson just because of the movement quality and how he actually goes about carrying himself and the technical efficiency he has in the cage, where, cage awareness is key there. With Stephen Thompson, he's in and out, he's angling, he's very long, so it's very hard to get him inside and try to, rain down some heavy shots. So it's going to be hard for him to actually TKO or KO Stephen Thompson, but you only need 1 shot in those little gloves. So if he can touch him, that may be the end right there, and we'll see, the rise of a new superstar in Darren Till. That being said, it's fucking hard to do. Especially with a guy like Stephen Thompson. If one of the hardest punchers, one of the most explosive fighters in the game, with Tyron Woodley not being able to fully touch him like that, can't do it. Darren Till isn't as explosive as Tyron Woodley. Let's face it.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll see if he can maybe possibly get him to fatigue, but we've never seen, Thompson's fatigue in a fight. So that's hard to do as well. I think it's going to be a point sparring match, and Stephen Thompson will edge him out, and it'll give it'll be a wake up call for Darren Till. He'll probably come back better for it, but I don't think he's beating Stephen Thompson.
Yeah, I think it's just jumping too far into the division. Like a perfect example is a lot of people, and I still believe in him as a top level prospect and a good talent, is Yair Rodriguez. He goes and fights Frankie Edgar, and the hype is big. I mean, even for me, I thought, man, this kid's good. He's long, he's big for that division. And then Frankie outclassed him. I mean, took him down, just dominated him. This feels like that, like you said it perfectly. He will get better from something like this because this is a tough matchup for anybody, especially a striker. I mean, moving on from that, staying in the welterweight division, a lot of talk around Ben Askren in the last, few weeks. He's been calling out GSP to come out of it, for him to come out of retirement to fight GSP. He would like to go to UFC. There's been a beef with him and Dana for a long time because Ben Askren is not afraid about airing, his thoughts on stuff. The GSP fight is probably unlikely. Even GSP, mentioned that he respects him, he knows him, but he just doesn't see the money in a big fight, in a fight like that, even though, for the fans, it's probably a good fight. That being said, if Ben Askren was in the UFC with his skill set, how good do you think he can do in the UFC division currently, in the welterweight division?
Really good. I think that his wrestling is top notch. You don't have any other better wrestling in MMA, in my opinion, than with Ben Askren. So what does GSP do very well is MMA wrestling. He sets up his work with his jabs. He has a long jab. He's got good boxing. But at the end of the day, his wrestling is top notch. He can take you down and grind you out and then make you make mistakes and then either choke you out or TKO you, or just get the decision. So if you negate the wrestling factor, the only thing that GSP will be able to do is jab the shit out of Ben Askren. And at the end of the day, you cannot just keep on, keeping the distance with Ben Askren. He's going to close the distance, get you up in that cage, and, take you down at will. and that'll be something that'll be interesting to see how GSP responds to that. So I would really like to see that fight because I've never seen GSP get handled from a wrestling perspective in an MMA match.
Yeah. I mean, a few years ago, I was like, I don't like. I mean, Ben Askren's probably where he should be in ONE FC. I mean, maybe Bellator he can do some interesting things, and I still think he could. And I wasn't sure about his ability in the UFC, but I think a perfect comparison to show he could do very well. Considering, he's a great wrestler. His striking's not that great. He's got a good chin. Damian Maia. I mean, Damian Maia went all the way to a title shot with very little impressive striking and all great grappling, wrestling, good takedowns, and that's a very comparable kind of fighter. Askren is a lot like a Damian Maia. He will grind, push forward, and get to you and get you down, and you're not going to get back up or do much more. Askren, Damian Maia is probably a better finisher in jiu-jitsu, but Askren's still dominant. He would beat you up on the ground, and I think he could do good. I don't know if he could be a Tyron Woodley, but there are a lot of guys at the top of the division. He'd be a long night for it. I kind of hope it happens. I'd like to see him go there. I'd like to see him interact with Dana White and how that relationship would be. Hopefully that happens either way. It'd be fun. Moving on from that, another interesting fight mentioned this week, and it's a rumored fight. Jose Aldo claimed that he has agreed, and I think he said signed, I don't know, but he has agreed to be interested in fighting Jeremy Stephens in June in Rio de Janeiro. And I mean, I'm curious on that fight in that I feel like it's a win for Jeremy Stephens because he gets to fight a guy who is a name fighter, a legend fighter. Again, to build your name, you gotta fight legends. But it's like, damn, where does Jose Aldo go from here? Like, if he loses this fight, which he very well could lose, it's a tough situation for him, and I'm not quite sure. I don't know if he can win this fight. What do you feel? You think he can beat Jeremy Stephens can beat Jose Aldo?
No, to be honest. I was trying to be nice for a second. Jeremy Stephens is obviously one of the best punchers in the game, I should say. Mm-hmm. He can knock you out, with anything. He can knock you out with an overhand, knock you out with a hook, uppercut, whatever the case may be. He's got good punching power. Let's put it like that. And Jose's obviously coming off another loss, correct? And I mean, Jose's on the back end of his career, but technically, skill wise, it's very hard to see a Jeremy Stephens beat a Jose Aldo, no matter where they're at in their careers. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, man, Jeremy Stephens has been in this game for a long time too. He fought Dean Thomas.
Yep.
They fought Dean back in when I was in high school, I think. So I mean, it just depends on the day. It depends on who's the better man that night. But in general, thought, I think that Jose just a better fighter than him.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I love the Jeremy Stephens story. It's a story you can only see in MMA where a guy he's a good fighter, he has a talent, he has ability, he works his way around, he maybe can't get a pass at top level, he works his way in, stays in the middle, and then something clicks. Like, he's been a good, solid fighter, and then all of a sudden something clicked. Like Robbie Lawler is another example. Good, solid fighter for a long time, up and down, peaks and valleys, and all of a sudden a click. He went to top team. He got better. Something has clicked, maybe going to Alliance MMA with Jeremy Stephens, and he's really become a top-level fighter. On more times than not, I would agree with you. I think Aldo should beat him, but I just don't know if that great, destroying machine that Jose Aldo used to be, I feel like that guy's gone. Like with him talking about so many times about, I want to go box, or I don't know if I want to, he is pseudo retiring and all stuff. I don't know if his desire is quite the same as it used to be. And if you don't have that desire and drive, can you beat guys to the top of the division? So to me, it'd be like a pick 'em, but either way, that's a great fight. That's a fun fight no matter what.
And you do have a point, man. Jeremy is, he's got a fire lit under his ass now. Mm-hmm. He feels he's more confident in general just from his last fight. With who did he fight last? I forgot who he fought. He fought
hold on, let me look it up here, because I know it was another striker too. Let me look it up. That's what's great about the internet and podcasting. You can go look at stuff real quick. Let's see here. Jeremy Steven, Sherdog. Giving a shout out to Sherdog.com. Josh Emmett. And then he fought Duho Cho before that and beat him. So
Yeah, man. I mean, he looked good. He looked explosive, and he looked confident, which is even better, especially fighting a guy that used to be, untouchable in so many people's eyes of Jose Aldo. So who knows, man? He might win. Like I said, and it's in MMA, it's very hard to predict these things.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I can make my picks, but I know I still have a 50% chance of me actually winning this shit. Because no matter what, anytime, any day, it could be the right circumstance. It could be, that guy's night to lose or win. So we'll see. But it'll be a fun fight to watch.
I know. Moving on to our last topic, we talked a little bit about it with Tony Ricci when he filled in for you on FSP Overtime 8. It was Frankie Edgar. Now we're moving to a new topic with Frankie Edgar, and that Frankie Edgar already has another fight. He's got to fight Cub Swanson at UFC Atlantic City, which is at the end of April. He fought early March. I mean, it hasn't been that long, considering a guy that he got knocked out, cold and was finished for the first time ever. Do you think, is he jumping back in at his age maybe too quick?
Yeah, definitely. I think that he needed to take a solid 6 months off. And I mean that, and even just in training, when you get knocked out like that, in the way he did, you really shouldn't even be doing any type of road work or any type of physical fitness or training of that nature for at least a month. And for him to try to jump back in there that quickly, it's detrimental to his health in the long run. And then trust me, I know,
Yeah.
Right? So it's detrimental to that. And then also, you have that repeated effect of being concussed. So his chin is actually deteriorated from the fight before. So things that may not have rocked him in the past are going to rock him in this fight, and that's kind of scary considering it, that's Frankie Edgar. He comes back from, wars, and you see him come back and he's like Rocky, it's like our modern day Rocky. But when you get KO'd or TKO'd, whatever the case may be, and you're out, you get a concussion as severe as he did, it takes you a while to, pretty much dust away the cobwebs in a sense. And so I'm a little weary about that. I don't know who was in charge of that, or maybe he just, fuck it, I just want to fight, which I commend him for that because he is a fighter. He's a fighter's fighter. That's what we say. But, at the end of the day, you still have to be smart. You still have to be strategic in your approach from your entire career, and then also after your career. You got to think about that as well. So do I think it was too early, too soon? For sure, definitely. He should have took at least until October and really think about, him coming back. Because then he could have took his time, trained accordingly, got back into it, got in shape, and then, get ready to make a run for it. Because honestly, he can still get a title shot, I believe. He may be 1 or 2 fights away. But to be honest, man, who's that kid? What's his name? That he just fought?
Oh, that Frankie lost to?
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Ortega. Man,
that kid's good, man.
Yeah, yep.
It's good, man. I love his jiu-jitsu. I like the way he fights. He's got good stand-up. He's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with in the next couple of years. And he's a young kid, too. He's not that old. Man, he's just coming into his own. I was watching some things. I was watching some jiu-jitsu tournaments he was doing, and, man, he's a fucking beast, man. So when you put all that stuff together and then you find the confidence and the cage experience, it's going to be something. But getting back to that, I think Frankie can still make his way back. He just got to take his time, man. I know he's older and it's like time is ticking, but you got to outweigh your options here. It's like, well, if I'm going to come back super early, you may get another knockout loss. And then you're really fucked. Your career is almost over.
Yeah.
So you got to be conscious of what you're doing,
Yeah, I mean, on the Ortega first, yeah, I completely agree. I think I'm a Frankie fan, but I almost feel like that matchup for Holloway is a tougher one because Brian Ortega, you said it perfect. The guy's filthy jiu-jitsu, nasty on the ground. We all know about that. But if your stand-up has come along that well that you can be in the cage with a guy like Frankie Edgar, who's a very tactical striker, he has a plan A, plan B, plan C. He can make adjustments, and in round one, you can figure out a weakness and a deficiency in his striking. That in that fight, it was like Frankie was winning, looking good. In round one, he found the hole and was able to dissect him. That says a lot about how good his striking is. That he can do that so quickly to a guy like Frankie Edgar. But I mean, yeah, I understand why Frankie took the fight. It's late in his career. You got to make that money. It's in Jersey. He's a Jersey guy. Not a lot of opportunities you're going to get to fight, but it's a lose-lose. He fought Cub Swanson already. He beat him already. If he loses his fight, where Cub Swanson's stock has kind of come back to earth a little bit, damn, where does Frankie Edgar go from here? Like, that's a tough spot he's put himself in.
He wants to fight in Jersey. He wants to fight in his hometown or, home state. But, also, Frankie can beat, the title holder. He can beat him. I think that he has the abilities to do so. He's a bad matchup for what's his name?
Holloway.
Bad matchup for him. But
why do you think he's a bad matchup? Despite the length that Holloway has and something like that, is it purely the wrestling?
The wrestling, the attacks that he goes through, his angles. He's a nonstop. His motor is crazy. I think that's going to be an issue for Holloway in general because Holloway's a bigger kid. People don't know this. He kind of walks around. I think he walks around like 189.
Wow.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Outside of camp. So with Frankie, he can create angles and take him down off the angles that he creates. A lot of punches in volume. This right there can negate any type of game plan for Holloway. And I got this. And actually, you know what? And I asked Dustin Poirier, and he's fought Holloway. And he's trained with Frankie.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So he has knowledge in both sides, and flat out told me Frankie would beat him. So that, and then watching Frankie and how he fights, and then watching Holloway's really good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I think, and as far as Frankie or Brian Ortega, Frankie would beat him worse than Brian would right now.
Interesting. Okay.
But I'll tell you, Brian Ortega reminds me of a lighter, smaller version, and a less darker version of John Jones.
Okay. Fair enough.
At the younger age, I think people just didn't realize how good John Jones was going to be.
Yeah.
I think the same goes for Brian Ortega. But if you look between the lines and see how he can dissect the issues inside the cage, man. When you can find that out and you're not even really focusing on that, I've heard things with John that he was training for, when he fought Glover, they weren't even, with those elbows and inside, they weren't even training that when he fought Glover. He just felt it in the cage and saw it happen, and he acted upon so. I think the same thing goes for Brian in that IQ, that fight IQ that he has, and it's only going to develop even more so. Him getting more confident and with more experience in the octagon.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's fascinating. I think he's only 25 years old. I wonder if he would have got Frankie 3 or 4 years ago, might have been different, but he got him at the right time. But still, it's still super impressive that he was able to finish that guy because no one else can. That's pretty much all our topics for this week's FSP. As always, give him the social media. Also, give him any other information you want. The seminars you got coming up in a couple of weeks. Let them know about the stuff we're gonna do with Nestler and Gardner. Anything that you want to let the folks know about that's upcoming for the World Traveling Field Group.
Yep, we got the weight cutting ebook coming out April 1st. That'll be next week, and pretty excited about that. Jason had a huge hand in this, and my guy, the infamous Tony Ricci, the mastermind behind it all. So we came together, and I think that's going to be something that's going to be really good for fight sports in general, but for everybody trying to understand how to properly weight cut and do this appropriately for combat sports. Then after that, on April 28th, we have engineering combat athletes, me, PJ Nestler, and Dan Garner, seminar in Burbank, California at the new Muscle Farm HQ, which will be pretty big.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm going to Poland, and then we're just rolling with a lot of seminars. You can check that out on my website, www.darustrong.com. Follow me on Instagram at DaruStrong and Twitter at DaruStrong. You can DM me any questions that you have. Anything, if you want me to come out there and do a seminar, or if you have any questions as far as from a training perspective. Also, I have online programs.
Yeah, I saw that.
You can check out on my website, for purchase. I have 8 12-week programs that I've already went through with a lot of my fighters, a lot of my athletes, and they're available on my website for purchase. And that's pretty much it, man. Jason, let them know.
You can follow me on Twitter, Cheap Seats Chat, Instagram, Jericho Vendetta, but of course, always you can follow Fight Strength Podcast on Facebook. Just look us up. On Twitter, Fight Strength _. As always, all of our previous episodes of FSP, Fight Strength Podcast, are on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. You can find on YouTube, you can find on Google Play, you can find on Player FM, all over the place. All those phone, iPad, streaming services, they're all up on there. And, look out for all the stuff. We got the book coming out soon. We got a lot of good guests coming up soon. And that is it for FSP Overtime number 9. Until next time, Fight Strength Podcast. This is Jason Burgos. He is Phil Daru. Bye-bye.